Listeners of the Randomness of Nothing podcast, this is your host, Rashad Woods. Today I have a very special guest today. He's the mindful soulpreneur who believes in the four attachment styles, which is what I haven't heard of before. He's going to tell you all about it, but it's about building emotional literacy and finding the best version of yourself. CT Kaupp, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, thank you very much for having me.
It's an honor and a pleasure. So you learn from experience, right? And you coach others on how to actually handle emotions in relationships. And obviously, it's a lot deeper than just getting over it or figuring it out yourself. And that's why people have reached out to people such as yourself. So please tell us about your background.
Yeah, so I think my entire life, I've pretty much been a life coach. It's just the vibe that I give off. Mm-hmm. And about a year ago, I was in a relationship that felt like this amazing high, sunshine, rainbows, and unicorns. Mm-hmm. And then as high as that was, then a couple months later, it was that low. Wow. And I knew about attachment styles prior, but that experience just kind of put everything on hyperdrive. Mm. And I say, like, I made the mistake so you don't have to, because as I look back, I was just repeating the same pattern. So different person, same pattern continuously for the majority of my life and relationships. And so when I had that aha moment, it was like, okay, I don't want anybody else to have to go through that pain. That doesn't mean that we won't have breakups and heartache and all of that, but we can have a better understanding of what's happening in the dynamics, so that maybe we don't get as invested or over-invested too early. And so that was kind of where it all began.
So when, how people go through different stages in life, and sometimes you have to learn the hard way. And I mean, the majority of life of success is through trial and error experience, the highs and the lows. So when people are listening to this and they sit back and say, I'm always having this same approach, how do they actually change their mindset to seek different results? How difficult of a transition is that for people?
So I'd say the first step is just to understand the dynamics, what's happening inside of you, most importantly, but also your partners, and to see if there is a pattern that you can see kind of coming to light, like a through line through your life. And most times, as I explain the different attachment styles, like, you will gravitate towards one. So there's 4 different: secure, anxious, and 2 different types of avoidance. So secure is, and a lot of this is being shaped by the love that you receive from your caregivers or your parents growing up. So secure is that the love was consistent. It was there. You didn't have to, there was no worry around it. You trusted whatever was going on, like that they would follow up, and like they're always there. They have your back. Anxious is you crave it so much that you hold on to it tightly because you're afraid it's going to vanish or you're going to be abandoned. And then the avoidant, 2 different styles is dismissive avoidant, is someone that most likely grew up with an environment where emotions were suppressed. Mm-hmm. So like, oh, you're crying, go to your room, go figure it out, and then like come back. Like, we don't talk about that, which I think that was much more prevalent, in past generations. And like, we're just, as a society, we're more open to that and feelings and emotions and all that. But very much like a typical kind of environment, I feel like, in the past. And then what happens is that you haven't work that muscle. Like, you haven't expressed your emotions. You haven't talked about it, whether that's hearing from other people or yourself being able to express how you feel. So when you get into relationships, then you don't have the muscle work to be able to navigate that. When that person comes to you with how they're feeling, then you feel overwhelmed, you feel engulfed, and you're going to run away because it's just going to feel too overwhelming. And then fearful avoidant is like the most chaotic of the different styles, in that it is anxious and avoidant at the same time. The connection that you desire, that you crave, is as much as you crave that, then it also scares you. And so you just have that push-pull, hot and cold. This is amazing. I love this. And then, oh my gosh, I have to get away before I get hurt. And so I was just talking to someone last night, and right away, like, they ended up falling into that fearful avoidant category. And that's what I mean, just based on kind of a quick summary, usually most people can identify how they feel.
Do you think that now, in this era of better understanding of people's mental health, that is, people can, I think it's pretty safe to say that it's been long neglected, or it's been a social stigma, so to speak, where it only happened to a certain group of people, or you were viewed as something's wrong with you if you sought services, such as coaching or mental health services? Did you find up a pent demand and need once you got into this field? Like, oh my goodness, I didn't realize this many people actually needed this.
Yeah, so I'm really big on colleges and focusing on that kind of niche in that area, because I feel like that's the right time where they can digest the information while also like literally implementing it right away. And a lot of times it's like giving them language for things that they've experienced, but they didn't know how to express. So little Johnny or Susie Q or whoever, like, oh, she's been doing that or he's been doing that to me for 2 months, or I've been in that situation for 2 years. And they thought it was normal. So it's just helping to bring to light the different dynamics that are at play. And I would say as a whole, yeah, like because as a society, we're more open to it, then it just lends itself to having those like deeper discussions that maybe in years or decades past wouldn't have been as received.
Right.
But most are pretty open, and that kind of sector in particular, like they're very open and receptive, and so it works really well to be able to not just help them understand it, but then how to actually implement it as they move forward.
That's wonderful. What stage is like, so what's an onboarding session like for a brand new client, right? So do they contact you first? Do you then get some background information? Like, can you tell me kind of the stages that process kind of works?
Yeah, definitely. So it definitely starts with just like an intro call. So just getting to know each other, see that we're the right fit. Like I'm very, very big on making sure it's the right fit on both sides, selective with the people that I work with. But it always starts there, and then it just can coalesce into however we would like to work together, a couple sessions or monthly, however that might work. And then I'll do the kind of more group coaching. I think of like the college thing is more of like a group thing, not necessarily one-on-one from the start. So I'm happy to kind of work in any way, whatever makes most sense for the client and what their goals are.
Is there a point where you feel like somebody may need services that are outside of your scope of expertise? You know, maybe you have somebody that truly needs like, I mean, I don't know the details of somebody's specific condition, but you sit back and say, hey, this person could be on the verge of self-harm, or this is a situation where, are you able to provide them with additional services that you can sit back and say, you need to be referred to this specialist, so to speak?
Yeah, I'm definitely not a therapist, and I don't play one on the internet. So
Right. I said it respectfully too. You know, I don't want to joke about anybody's
correct.
condition. You know.
Yeah, correct. So it's kind of once it gets to a certain point that I feel like it would be necessary for that, then like I'm happy to kind of refer them out or however needs to be done. Because there's kind of like a fine line between it.
Well, no question. And that's really good that you also offer that as well too. So how long are your sessions like? How long do they typically go for? And then I'd love to talk about your podcast as well too, because I find that very fascinating to talk about as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So range 30 to 60 minutes, usually probably 45, but it depends on the person. Some are like very quick, like let's just get into it, boom, boom, boom. Others, there's just more to it. So very flexible in that regard, but yeah, 30 to 60 is the sweet spot.
Right.
And then, started a podcast called Securely You.
Yes.
And so just helping people to, help them. I don't know how that name isn't, taken, right? Like it came to me intuitively, and it's like, wow, that's like, it's too perfect for the whole attachment style space.
Yeah.
But so just helping people to understand the different dynamics, like just like quick bite size, 5-10 minute episodes, nothing crazy. Probably do interviews at some point, but right now just solo, and have been enjoying doing that.
So if it's like quick, is that just like kind of tips of the day, kind of best practices? How are you feeling? Is it kind of just like almost like a pseudo infomercial of like, hi, this could be better for you to be the better version of yourself today, kind of a thing?
Yeah, it's usually like just a topic. Something will come to me. I'll usually record them in batches. So I'll do like 3, 4, or 5 at a time. I just kind of have a running list, like, hey, here's the things I want to talk about, and just kind of split them up into separate episodes. So I try to keep it nice and tidy, and I'm not going over multiple things, at one particular time. It's just kind of very focused. Like literally, I think the last one I had was just like to let it go. And it was just talking about just, whatever happened in the past, like, let's just let it go. Like it's a new day. A little motivational there. That's just kind of my vibe by default.
Right.
But that's how I try to keep it.
I think sometimes, particularly with the internet era where you have so many different things that are pulling at you for your attention, and people can get pulled in multiple directions, and sometimes they can lose focus. Even like starting an idea, as a business or as a podcast or like coaching, for instance, people may come to you with one specific thing but then eventually it branches off into 45 different things. When I think the key to doing something successful and well is to attack one thing first, like just go after, and then you can segue into other things, right? Like it's like make a good cheeseburger first if you want to get into like like just make a good
I was
cheeseburger.
literally just thinking about In and Out when you were describing that. So like their menu is super small, right? But like
Yeah,
they do it amazing, and it doesn't
yeah,
matter what In and Out you go to. It's the very same experience.
right.
That's what it's all about.
Right. And so it's, and typically you'll find out, like, for example, like a lot of times when fast food restaurants, have a dip in sales, it's because their menu got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then they go, oh, we're going to shrink. Because then the customer comes to the drive through window and then they're like, this is too much. It takes
Yeah,
too
right.
long. The transaction's too long. Like, listen, man, have
Yeah,
10, 12 items and then go. Right. And so it's weird how sometimes you'll try to service a plethora of things, but in the service of doing that, you lost the core of what you did best. So
absolutely, I agree.
it's just like coaching, right? Like let's address your self confidence first, your relationship issues first, and then as we dive deeper into sessions, then we can talk about the other things that you may need help with. But let's talk about this one thing first.
Yeah, I would say, particularly with attachment styles, a lot of it is like that self love and that self trust, that self confidence, all the self words, but it's very much like internal. So the different, I mean, because even if you're secure, like the point is that you trust yourself, you have belief in yourself, you know that it's going to work out, you're not going to spiral, all these different things. Or if you're an avoidant, you don't trust yourself. You don't trust that love can be this good or that a person can treat you this good because of past experiences.
Right.
And so it literally all starts there. And then as I dive into it further, it's really not even the labels or the surroundings of attachment styles. It's truly nervous system regulation and because how someone that is anxious, that feels safe, they want the closeness. Somebody that's avoidant, what's going to make them feel safe is distance. And so just like right there, it's like that nervous system, your nervous systems are talking two different languages.
Do you find yourself when you're going to the college age people in particular? That's a very good transitionatory stage in life, right? Because it's weird. You're at the graduation stage, literally in June or May, and
Mm-hmm.
your world 3 months later is you're supposed to be a fully functioning adult. Now,
Yeah.
granted,
Yeah.
there are some people who obviously are joining the military, like so. That's a different segue. But for the purpose of that, which takes an incredible human being, by the way, but for the purpose of that, the emotionally jarring change of this is only 4 years away from dictating the rest of your life has to
Yeah.
be. So do you see a lot more college students, which you've gone into, say maybe mentally they got overwhelmed, so to speak?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like they need it more than anybody because they're juggling 6,000 different like academics, of course, but then all the different sports or social environments, and then just mental health in general, just all these things, the uncertainty of like, hey, like what you just said of all of a sudden, boom, in a couple weeks or months or years, like I need to have it all figured out, right? Like I think that's kind of like a misconception. Everybody thinks, oh my gosh, I have to graduate and have everything figured out, and it's like it's all a journey. But yes, there's so much going on. And then even if we go like just the digital stimulation, so it's just like that constant stimulation as well. And so there's all these different factors that I think we're kind of like fighting against and pushing against. So to give them the clarity around at least one part of it can help a lot.
I always find it fascinating when like you're determined whether or not you're a success or not if you graduated in 4 years. Like whoever decided that, right?
Yeah.
Who made it? Like think about it. Like realistically, like if you're honest with yourself, you come in as a freshman, and then you're supposed to be done in 4 years. Well, who told you that it's a 4 year degree? But who told you had to be done in 4 years? And then are you a failure if you don't do that? And then next thing you know, maybe you started off with your freshman class, but a lot of people don't even make it past the first semester. Right? And then next thing you know, you realize if you didn't graduate in spring of 4 years later, somehow there's something wrong with you, or somehow so they've already put a mental block on themselves that if something didn't happen in a certain window, dictated by somebody else, not by my own pace or my own accomplishments, that somehow there's something wrong with me.
And then you think about like what you just said, and then like the comparison, not even just with their friend circle, but then social media and everything else. So it
Yeah.
just compounds the feeling of I'm not good enough or what's wrong with me or
Oh
all
yeah,
of that.
without question. And so I think that part of the purpose of this show was to try to talk to the rule breakers, the people who said, you know what, conventional thinking isn't always the best mode, and this is coming from somebody who does have a college degree, who sometimes you have to sit back and say, what could I have done differently to kind of differentiate and carve out my own niche space, which is one of the reasons I created this show, because I think that curiosity can't be taught, right? You can be taught a topic, but you have to be willing to go there in life to learn what fascinates you the most. So when you decide to dive into the human emotions and you're having these one-on-one sessions, how has it helped you?
I think it just helps me see the different dynamics that are going on. Sometimes like you can be in your own head and you think it's this way or that way. And so to be able to see the different dynamics, like literally on one hand, it's like we're all the same. We all want the same end goal, but yet how we get there is completely different. And so I guess I just enjoy that aspect of helping people to navigate that, but then also being able, like on the backside of it, on the back end, being able to see the different things that are going on and being able to help people through it.
Do you find where's the majority of your consumer base? Now you do most things online, I'm assuming.
Correct. Yeah, mostly online, but happy based in Denver. Happy to do it in person as well. But yeah, just with the way things are, remote seems to be the most efficient for everybody.
Right. If you get somebody who just needs to go to their car, in between their shift or something like that, I'm assuming, and just needs to get to their coaching session. Now, I know sometimes people will book a coaching session, but then when it actually comes to actually having it, sometimes they get the quote unquote cold feet and they punt it. So how is there an accountability that, follow up, making sure that it's an ongoing working on them to get them to where they need to be? And when do they transition off of, okay, I've quote unquote gotten over this hump in life, I can transition or wean myself off of personal coaching? How does that process work?
I would say everybody is completely different. So I can have different packages and different offerings in that way, but I can also be flexible as to how whatever is best for the person. Like I don't want, you buy a 3-month package and you're stuck into it forever, or if something comes up. Right. So I'm just very cognizant of that. I'm not a salesperson in that way. I'm not going to shove it down your throat. But also at the same time, yes, there's accountability because I don't want to. I'm not a babysitter, so if that's not working out, that's okay.
Right.
We can go our own separate ways.
Right. So it's only asked because it's I do martial arts, right, and so obviously life is an ongoing lesson, and so. Just because you've reached a certain status in your martial art, or there's always another martial art that you're not good at, right? And anybody who's ever taken martial arts and got their butt handed to them will say, I thought I was good, and then it turns out I'm not nearly as good as I thought that I was, right? Yeah. And so the funny part about martial arts is that even in the avenue of getting your butt handed to you, you're getting your butt handed to you by somebody who's really good. So if you can step back a little bit and say, well, as long as I can beat somebody who's untrained, I'm in a good place, for where I'm at in life. And I think that by not having that mirror theory of comparison of another of your peers, that's where people find themselves tripped up, particularly in this internet era where images of success or lack thereof are readily available at an instantaneous pace. And I think it's important just to be secure in your own, in where you are at in life, and the things that you want to work on, you just attack them to the best of your ability.
Yeah, and I'll go back to something you said earlier, is they're always, we might be working on A or B or C, but then D, E, or F are going to come to the surface. And so there's always, that's why I like to be flexible, because you may go into it thinking it's this, and then it turns out to be that, or they're upset about this, but then the root cause is really that. So being able to work with work in that fashion, however it evolves into.
I think the most important thing is when people stop lying to themselves. And if you're honest with yourself, I always call it the weight loss theory. If you're honest with yourself and you want to lose weight and you say, I really want to, lose weight, are you being honest with yourself about your diet? Are you being honest with yourself about your workout habits? Are you being honest with yourself about those late night snacks? Because 60% of that is found in your kitchen, right?
Yeah.
Maybe even 75%. So I'm glad that you're sharing, the things that trip people up, and especially college students, because again, there's a lot of emotional baggage. Now, do you find people in that second stage of career phase where they're hey, they're 40, they're maybe divorced, maybe they're going through a career transition phase? Is that another group of people that you typically coach to?
Yeah, and I would say something I didn't say earlier is that this patterns that we act out on, literally it's the same thing. It's just a different person, same story. Whether we're 20, 40, 60, 152, they literally just keep repeating until we change them. But until you're ready to change them. But that's like one of my biggest ahas is like literally the age and past experiences, whether you've had these many partners or that many partners, or you haven't dated much, like none of that really matters, because it's just that pattern is so conditioned into you, that just repeats throughout. So that's like, yeah, I would say that is a good stage. But then regardless, like it totally spans a spectrum, because it's agnostic of the stage or age that somebody may be.
Absolutely. And that's beautiful, because at the end of the day, I think coaching is a very valuable tool in life, and most people tend to equate that with sports. No, you have to be willing to be coached in life as well too, because we don't have all the answers. And there are people who are experts in fields who are willing to share that with people to get them to better places in life. So for the purpose of this show, and not, obviously, you've done very successful in your field, but for the purpose of the randomness of nothing, where can people find CT Kaupp?
Yes, website is the mindfulspx.com, and then the mindful SPX on social. That would be the best place to find me. You can reach out there. Podcast Securely You, wherever you get your podcast.
Well, I got to tell you, this has been very fascinating, because, my podcast is kind of my way of going through my coaching session to be a better version of myself every single day, right? And so by manifesting my own personal curiosity, my mind stopped spinning as much when I would want to learn about stuff. So I would always be able to talk to people, business owners, coaches, entrepreneurs, ex-members of the military who transition to civilian life, athletes, martial artists. And so you're just like, but at the same time, it's all about putting your mind in a healthy space. And then it's weird. It bleeds into the other areas of your life. You find yourself more patient. Now you want to eat better, because now that thing doesn't make you as anxious as much. So that's one of the things that has helped me, being able to be on this show and talk to people like yourself. So I appreciate you.
No, I appreciate you. Thank you very much.
It's been an honor and pleasure. CT Kaupp. This is the Randomness of Nothing podcast. If you like what you heard, please subscribe. There's more to come. Have a great day. Sorry if my mouth sits too long.